episode of the HeyUSA podcast. My name is Nick Garcia, senior reporter at Play USA, and with me, as always, is Brant James, lead writer at Sharp Sites for Katana Media. It's another Friday. Brant, this episode is going to cover a few of, bear with us, they may gloss over a little bit, but it's that time of the year where companies start telling us how much money they make. But before we get into that, Brant, I wanted to ask you a little bit about a couple of sports things that have popped up around. One, do you think the Baltimore Orioles have a chance to make the playoffs this year?
No, I don't think they will. They traded two huge pieces. They traded a closer and they traded Trey Mancini. I think that plucky group that remains will try very hard. They want to be, presumably, part of the future as in hold their spot as the kids continue to percolate up from the minor leagues. I don't know. I just think that that plucky little car runs out of gas. But I tell you what, it's been fun. I've dared to look at box scores again and try to find them on television when they're on, and not so worried about being so sad at the end of it.
I mean, they got like the building blocks for the future. Are you saying, maybe 2-3 years out, or maybe is next year where they click it in the air? What do you think?
I think they're 3 years out. I think Rutschman's up, and they've got some Grayson Rodriguez had a weird injury. He would have been pitching this year. He'll be up again next year, hopefully healthy. Lots of position players. I believe his name is Gunnar Henderson. That's just an awesome baseball name. Third baseman coming up.
Yeah.
So, the chain of progression, I think, would be 3 years, get the kids up, maybe sign some free agents, and then the kids get expensive and you trade them to the Red Sox.
That's life, right?
It's baseball.
Yeah. The second thing I wanted to talk about is, I guess this would be under the QB chaos that we've spoken about previously, but we finally got a ruling on the Deshaun Watson case. After all the stuff that's happened with him in the past, he hasn't played football this will be his second year, I believe. He's now suspended for 6 games. What were your initial thoughts when that ruling was handed down?
Yeah, my initial reaction, as it was in sync with most of the world, was, wow, that's not nearly enough. A lot of people are trying to equate Calvin Ridley. Man, that guy got a year. They're totally different things. He bet on the NFL. It says it right there. Don't bet on the NFL. League rules suspended different crimes, different infractions, different infractions. So, yes, definitely not enough time off, granted by Judge Robinson. But, watching the videos and listening to the podcast, as we all do, it became quite clear, if Mike Florio is correct, from Pro Football, I don't know, he's one of those places. It sounds like when you read into it with a legal mind, which I don't have, someone had to explain it to me, that the judge said, even though I'm only suspending him for 6 games, he did all of these things. Watson has steadfastly said, I didn't do any of this, but the judge said he did it, but this is the realm. So the NFL apparently had asked for a year. They got 6. And of course, the NFL has the right to appeal to itself. The commissioner is deferred to the former attorney general of the state of New Jersey, who you would expect as basically a contractor with the NFL is going to bring the hammer and maybe suspend Deshaun Watson for a full year, which is what the league wanted.
And that judge also handed down a bunch of other little rules, like for the remainder of his NFL career, he can only get like massages or has to go through his team. Can't do off season by himself or anything for the remainder of his career. They said, you go through your team to get any medical treatment that you want. No more outside third party stuff. So the 6 games, I mean, it is a quarter of the season with 17 games now, right around a quarter. But still in the grand scheme of things, it amounts to what people have been saying, like a slap on the wrist, basically.
Yeah. I think it was for sure going to happen that the NFL was going to appeal. Everyone knows everything in that league. They knew what was going to come out with this. Appealing to yourself is just what a great way to go through the business world. But Judge Robinson also said that Watson had used his status as an NFL player to try to coerce the victims, the alleged victims. the NFL does not take kindly to PR disasters. Do not make the NFL look bad. The NFL will get very angry, and I think that is going to further reinforce the very big suspension coming down. Think about Browns fans. I mean, I have no skin in the Browns games. It's a long suffering franchise. It's almost after a while you just sort of have to go numb and say we suck. It's that generational suckage that you just have to blame on ownership. So they make the trade. They make this massive trade for someone. It's so hard to put the jersey on your kid for your new quarterback. And then the suspension comes down and it's less than you probably thought. So you just kind of bite it and you say, okay, move on now. And then aftershock, you're probably going to find out that your guy may not play for you this year. Hello, Jacoby Brissett.
Browns fans would be happy with going 3-3 if it's 6 games, and then hopefully he plays the rest of the season. But yeah, if after that 6th game they're like, actually it's the entire season, then they got Jacoby Brissett, who's probably going to be the starter, and then they also signed Josh Rosen, I believe, was who they picked up as his backup. So there's a lot of talent there at the QB position for Browns.
Enjoy. Somewhere Baker Snickers.
Yeah. Moving on to some more gambling related stuff. So, one of the big things that happened last week was earnings reports, obviously. And one of the ones that stood out to me was from MGM Resorts International. Now, if you haven't heard about them, they're this giant casino company, obviously, but they run the BetMGM app. And their CEO announced that this is the surprising part for me, that their BetMGM app has the biggest market share when it comes to online casino games, iGaming, which stood out at 29% market share in the jurisdictions that it's legal in. Now, the reason for me that's shocking is because FanDuel is the biggest online gaming company that there has ever been. They own the market share in every little pie that they're in, but it was interesting for me that BetMGM overtook them on the casino side of things. Now, obviously, when you combine casino and sports betting, FanDuel ranks number 1. But when it comes to just pure casino game, where a lot of CEOs and executives are seeing that is where the money is. It's online casinos is where, and you spoke briefly about this yourself, is that online casinos is the future. BetMGM has the advantage right now. So I thought that was pretty interesting stuff.
That is interesting. If you want to win one of the silos, as the C-levels like to say, that's the one you want to win, because that's where the money is. I mean, we spend a lot of time talking about sports betting because sports betting is super cool and we can relate, we can watch it, but that's where the cash is coming from. That had to cause some consternation in FanDuel Tower, if that's such a thing. But good for BetMGM and that frisky lion they got there.
I'll link to a story that I wrote in the description below, but one of the key takeaways was, online casinos aren't subject to the highs and lows of the betting calendar. When summer months come around and you're only betting on the White Sox and the Orioles to get above 500, that volume goes pretty down. Whereas if you're playing online slots and online table games, that's a 365 ordeal right there that never goes down.
That is interesting. Yeah. That makes me think of a story that I'm working on. Can't click on it because it's not done yet. But Sportradar announced a deal this week with the NBA. And just as we have historical horse racing where algorithms and the AI and the machine learning create fake horse races that you can bet on, and there's no way, even if you're the greatest horse player ever, you're going to remember what happened because it's data bits that create the game. You're not betting on a replay. They're doing this with the NBA now. Upwards of 3,000 simulated NBA games. They look like cartoon. They look like video games. It's not legal here yet. It's regulated as iCasino, and there's a lot to untangle as far as regulation in the United States. But I believe it's in Europe, and it's going to be in Latin America. So that's iCasino. It sounds like sports betting, but it's casino, and that again is just their attempt to lure you to the casino side and give you something familiar. You have a feeling about LeBron, but who knows if ... virtual LeBron is going to be feeling it for that 5 minutes this game left.
For you out there looking for online casinos, they are legal in 6 states. Those would be Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Michigan, West Virginia, Delaware, and Connecticut. But in Connecticut, you will only find FanDuel and DraftKings. They kind of got deals with the casinos that are there in the state. So it's kind of a cornered market. So only FanDuel and DraftKings Casino are legal in Connecticut. But then the last little bit of topic, it's not that big of a breaking news type thing, but Penn National Gaming is no longer a thing. They have now rebranded to Penn Entertainment. They just got rid of the national thing.
What?
We're now Penn Entertainment. So if you didn't know that, that's a thing now too, Brant.
Well, what are they going to do to entertain me besides having me give them their money? How are they going to entertain me? What am I getting out of this?
Yeah, that's on their earnings call. Their CEO Jay Snowden said this was kind of a pivot to the direction that they were taking the company. Now they announced the name change back in March, but they just made it official this one. But it's more so they can get aligned with. Obviously, they own a small stake in Barstool, and they're one of the lucky companies that doesn't really have to pay for marketing because Barstool does all the free marketing for them. They have like a YouTube channel and Instagram and social medias. They market sports books, casino, all that stuff. Penn National doesn't have to lift a finger for it, or Penn Entertainment doesn't have to lift a finger for it. But it's kind of this thing where they're getting more on board with the social aspect of entertaining their customers. And not very many, there have been companies that have been attempting to do that, but not to the scale that Penn Entertainment has. So I think that's more along the lines where they're trying to, the direction they're trying to take, so to speak.
Yeah, I think FanDuel announced a big content is king. They announced a big deal this past week. So yeah, the betting companies certainly want to give you plenty of stuff to read and watch just for a minute until you thumb over and play their iCasino, especially if you're on BetMGM.
That's what they do. For the most part, this episode is going to be kind of short. Both me and Brant are a little burnt out. I'm taking a trip to Mexico. Brant, do you have any fun stuff lined up for the next week?
Well, today, as soon as we finish, I'm going to get in that sexy Subaru Forester that's just out that glowy window, and I'm going to take a drive to Miami to report out a story about the last High Life Fronton in the U.S. They're having their draft for their big Battle Court season coming up. I wrote a story about it a little while ago. Go search diligently on PlayUSA. It's there. I'm going to write another one. I'm going to get the hobnob with the powerful people at the Battle Court, and we're going to blow the lid off the highlight draft.
Well, we'll be sure and talk about that when we return. With that, be sure and like, follow, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. If you have any questions, let us hear it, and we will catch you guys on the next one.